When Francisco Rodriguez defeated Galal on June 21st, I gave him a great deal of credit in a review. And I talked about his victory being something market for the sport, and Yafai needed to kind of go back to the drawing board and correct some things. And though the men were both over 30, this was an opportunity for growth for Yafai and credit for the veteran Rodriguez. But news has come that there was something awry. We need to talk about what happened and what the findings are, and who should be held accountable. I hate having to come back and go over what has transpired after finding that there was something incorrect against ethic in the sport of boxing. But to take us back to the fight card that was June 21st, where Galal Yafai took on Francisco Rodriguez in a headlining card from the UK, which saw these men come together. They're both 32 years of age and trying to position themselves for world title opportunity. This was for the WBC interim world flyweight title. But listen, news has come down the pipeline that Francisco Rodriguez has an adverse finding after the fight has taken place, meaning that he has failed a VADA test. The article states that it was a significant upset, first of all, with his victory over Galal Yafai, dropping him in the 12th round. The article goes on to state that the Mexican's performance caught the eye for its astonishing tirelessness And today, July 9th, it has been confirmed by Matchroom Boxing, who staged the bout, that he failed his post-fight anti-doping test, which was conducted by VADA. Yafai, who is 9-1 with 7 KOs, was defending the WBC interim flyweight strap in Birmingham, England, and was widely expected to follow his impressive beatdown of Sonny Edwards last November with a victory over the experienced Rodriguez. The challenger was a revelation, however, employing astonishing output from the first bell until the last. Yafai, who endured a beating, was dropped in the 12th before lopsided scores of 119 to 108 twice, 118 to 109 went against him. According to CompuBox, the 40-6 with 1 draw and 27 KOs Rodriguez landed 575 punches, a record for the flyweight division, from 1,089 thrown. Today, the Voluntary Anti-Doping Association, VADA, informed Matchroom that the WBC and British Boxing Board of Control that Francisco Rodriguez has returned an adverse analytical finding as part of a post-fight night anti-doping test following his bout with Galal Yafai. It reads Matchroom's statement on the matter. Rodriguez's positive test will now be investigated by the BBBFC and the WBC. What's really horrible about this is the fact that we're seeing more and more fighters are popping dirty in the sport of boxing. And it doesn't matter the weight class or division. But what does matter is who's popping. We're seeing a number of the Latin fighters pop. We're seeing some of the European fighters pop. And we're seeing fighters that are popping from particular camps. And this is where we really have to come to grips with what's happening. Eddie Reynoso, the trainer for Rodriguez, has had several men out of his camp pop dirty. We've talked about this time and again. We've talked about the fact that there is a common circumstance with these guys. They are just either not necessarily good enough to compete at the highest level, or they need something to assist them being a part of the sport in its entirety, in totality. But the common thread here is his camp. He just had a fighter in Jaime Munguia pop dirty after the rematch with Bruno Sirach. I mean, what is going on here? Are we going to get to a place where accountability wins out and these men are held accountable? Someone should go to jail because lives are on the line. Galal Yafai, in that fight against Rodriguez, I remarked that he really looked worn at the end of the bout, and I felt like maybe his corner could have stopped the fight because it got to a point where he was not going to win a decision, and his shape was tapering off, whereas Rodriguez seemed to be strong. Now, I didn't think for one moment during during the fight, during the event, that there was a possibility that Rodriguez would be dirty. I didn't think that way. I thought that the rivalry between UK fighters and Mexico's fighters, which has been a sizzling rivalry over the past, I want to say, half decade, this was more of the same. But now I don't know how or what to think, because you have fighters like Galal Yafai, who was sincerely trying to be the best he could be, and he has to go up against criminals. This is unacceptable. We need people to have bans, and I'm not talking about a year suspension. Give them 5. Hurt them like they're trying to hurt their opponents in the ring. Boxing is a sport where your life is on the line every time you step through those ropes, because one shot to the head could be all it takes to turn you into something that you were not before you stepped into that arena. And when will the fans of the sport start calling for more stringent, stop supporting individuals, and start looking at the heart of the matter when it comes down to the sport? We need people to be here. These men, when they go through their sacrifices of training, cutting weight, all the dieting and exercising and sparring, putting their bodies through tremendous trauma for one night, they have families to return to. This is ridiculous. And why are people giving this man a pass? We're talking about Eddie Reynoso. 7 to 8 people now out of his camp have popped dirty. A former 2-time coach of the year. What has he gotten away with that we don't know about? And if you love the sport, you should say something about this, because this is a person of no integrity whatsoever. And I'm certain that there may be some type of cartel or something that's behind him. But I don't care. I care about the sport. I care about the fighters that entertain us and put it on the line for our entertainment. And I want them to be well. I want them to return to their families. And I want them to be able to come back and do it again. But until these men who are contributors to such erroneous actions are held accountable, someone's going to pay the ultimate price. And who knows, maybe some of these have already. Clarissa Shields gave an interview a few months back where she talked about that there's an average of 12 to 13 fighters who pass away a year in the sport of boxing. And it doesn't matter if it's a major name or someone who is of status that you are unaware of. It shouldn't be happening at all. And how many of those are succumbing to someone who has violated the ethic of the sport? You see, this isn't Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia now. This is Galal Yafai from the UK and Francisco Rodriguez. No wonder he was able to set CompuBox records. No wonder that even though he took some damn good shots from Galal, he just snapped right back and kept going like the Energizer Bunny. You see, there is something about today's sport that is not like the days of old. The days of old required fighters to be highly conditioned, honed and primed, and they could face one another with a sense of warrior type spirit. And for 15 rounds or less, they gave as good as they got. But nowadays you're seeing some of these men, they're not that good. And they seem to have stamina going into the later rounds of 12 rounds and not tired, even after sustaining punishment and everything. And I'm sorry, but there are no supermen. There are no supermen. We are human. But taking performance-enhancing drugs are putting people in a position that they feel like supermen. And even when they go through these circumstances, they seemingly don't tire. They seemingly can bounce back or snap back after being rocked, wobbled, shaken up. And in the very last round, they're as good as they were in round 3 or 4. Something's wrong here. Just to compete, we now have to look at most of these bouts sideways. And if a fighter doesn't want to enroll in 24/7, 365 Olympic style dope testing, they shouldn't be allowed to fight for titles or in major events and cards. Because the moment that you let one of them slip through the cracks, someone is going to pay the ultimate price. This is Stormy B-Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know, please, what your thoughts are regarding this situation. Francisco Rodriguez popping dirty from his fight with Galal Yafai, June 21st. And what do you think should happen to he and his coach and trainer, Eddie Reynoso? Leave comments and let's discuss further. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.